UFC Vegas 60. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Cory Sandhagen fights Song Yadong. Pretty good card overall. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Let's jump into the first fight of the night. It is between Loma, Lookboonmee, and Denise Gomes. I'm going to be riding with Loma Lookboonmee to get the win. I think she does get it done by a decision. She's got pretty tricky Muay Thai. She's the one fighter on the roster from Thailand. Gomes, known for more of a kickboxing style, kind of Thai-esque stance for her, a little bit square. I see moments where she's hittable down the center. Lookboonmee pretty strong in the clinch, good front kicks. I would say she's going to be tricky to deal with for Gomes. I wasn't super impressed with Denise Gomes on the Contender Series either. She got a competitive decision win. Lookboonmee's got that veteran experience at this point. She's been in there with some decent names throughout her run. I mean, the last one, tough loss to Lupita Godinez, but does have wins. I mean, Sam Hughes is still okay level. Beat Jin Yu Frey. Lost to Angela Hill. I mean, high-level competition Lookboonmee has seen. Gomes doesn't have that. I think the veteran experience as far as UFC competition is a huge difference maker, especially with Gomes just at 22. I think Lookboonmee by a decision. That's the official pick. Lookboonmee is a fair size favorite. Minus 250. Loma Lookboonmee. Gomes plus 220. We're riding with Loma for the competitive decision win, but I do think it clearly goes her way overall. Next fight, Tony Gravely and Javid Basharat. I think this is a really good matchup in the bantamweight division between these two. Excuse the tissue a bit, guys. I'm a little bit under the weather, but we're still coming after it with the picks. Gravely is dangerous with power and wrestling, but Basharat is just so much technically better. I'm picking Basharat for the win. I think he does it by a unanimous decision. Maybe gets a stop on Gravely by sub, actually. I feel like Gravely's shooting in with the wrestling. Basharat's good at catching necks. Gravely's getting outstruck. Maybe he's frustrated. We're going Basharat win by submission rather than decision. If it did go the full three, I wouldn't be shocked. Gravely's an experienced vet with a pretty good record, 23-7. Looking at the last 5, he's 4-1, and that one loss was a fight he was winning, and then Nate Maness ended up touching him up in the second round. Basharat, I think, outstrikes him, and I do think could lock up a submission as well. He's good on the floor and standing. I think he's a real prospect to get behind. I like the game overall, but especially the striking southpaw stance too, which is going to be tricky, and I think he can touch up Gravely a bit, who definitely is dangerous, but I think in a tough spot versus a real prospect. 12-0. Basharat's a bit of a problem. Minus 165 for Basharat, plus 140 for Gravely. Best value is actually upwards of plus 155 for Tony Gravely. We are riding with Javid Basharat for the win. Next fight of the night, Mariya Agapova versus Gillian Robertson. This fight here, I think Agapova actually gets it done, and I think a lot of people are going to go against her because she has a bad loss to a girl that's not UFC level. That was Shayna Dobson. It was 3-4. It's a terrible loss, I agree. But Agapova fought very stupid that fight. She was a bit more on the inexperienced side as far as the UFC level. And you got to say, right? Even though the record was shite of Shayna Dobson, she had some UFC fights, some tough experience. She's been under those brighter lights. Agapova came in with a lot of hype, but I do believe she's very overrated. Gillian Robertson's just not all that elite. She's got decent grappling, definitely going to look for takedowns and clinch control here. Agapova's actually not bad on the floor. I do think she's got tricky subs. I'm actually going to pick Agapova by submission. I think she might be able to choke Robertson out. Like, if you look at the styles of fighter, yes, Agapova is not super technically sound in the striking. She's nasty on the feet. She likes to brawl. She's a fighter. She likes to scrap. And Robertson, to me, more of the technician. When things really get tough, I think Agapova can hurt her with strikes. She can get her to the floor and maybe choke her out. So I'm going to ride Agapova to win via submission here. As far as the odds of this one, Agapova is plus money. She is sitting at plus 120 plus 122 best value. Robertson is minus 120 as the favorite. I like Agapova underdog to get the win. Next one. Trey Ogden versus Daniel Zellhuber. You have to pick Daniel Zellhuber here. His win against Lucas Almeida has aged well because Almeida's doing good in the UFC now. Trey Ogden just lost a real competitive fight against Jordan Levitt. I think Zellhuber's clearly the better kickboxer here. If it goes to the floor, I think Zellhuber is slick enough on the mat. Ogden probably has a bit of advantage as far as pure wrestling does go, but I think Zellhuber can defend. If he is put down, I don't think Ogden is going to be ferocious from the top and pounding his face in, and I really feel like Zellhuber can find ways back up to the feet. Striking, Zellhuber is faster. You look at the reach advantage, it's pretty substantial here. What is it, 5.5-inch reach advantage for Zellhuber? That's a factor. Height advantage, 2 inches. The leg length advantage for sure. Overall, he's the better striker of the two, and I think that really shows a lot as these two throw down. As far as Ogden, the stand-up is okay. I would say overall, he's a pretty well-rounded generalist, but when you put him up against a real prospect, 12-0, somebody that I think can have some success. I mean, just 23, Zellhuber for the win. I think he's going to look good doing it as well. As far as the odds for this fight, Zellhuber is sitting at, if we can find it here, minus 225. Trey Ogden at plus 220. You got to ride with Daniel Zellhuber for the win. Apologize about the nose again, guys, but we gotta keep it clean as we go. But Zellhuber, I think, does good work here, and he's a real prospect. Next fight of the night, as the order just shifted all over the place through Tapology, we'll go to this one. Nikolas Motta versus Cameron VanCamp. I think that Nikolas Motta can get the KO here. I feel like the striking that he brings is a factor. Cameron VanCamp just got slept badly by Fiallo in the last one. He's a bit of an over-aggressive fighter, does have decent grappling, strong inside of the clinch, very pressure-heavy game. But I think the boxing of Motta is dangerous. I think he'll have decent grappling defense. He's coming off a tough loss, but I mean, if you look at the guy that he fought, Jim Miller, that's a veteran. That's a legend, essentially, of the fight game. And he got good experience points fighting him. Cameron VanCamp here, I think, is going to be in a bit of trouble striking. Yes, I know he's a really freakishly tall dude, but at 6'2", I thought 170 he was thin. At 155, he is going to be extremely thin, and I think Motta will take advantage here. I think he can do some damage with the punches. When a guy's that tall at 155, unless he's a real freak athlete, I think more powerful, stockier guys break him with power punches. So we're going Nikolas Motta by the KO, and I do think his boxing is a clear X factor. Minus 219 Motta, VanCamp sitting at plus 200. VanCamp's aggressive and he comes to fight, so I do expect this one to be entertaining, but I think it just leads to him getting slept. We're going Motta via knockout. Let's get to the next fight of the night. Aspen Ladd versus Sara McMann. I'm going to be picking Sara McMann, but she is 41 years of age, almost 42. She's going to be 42 actually on fight night. Holy shit. But she's still competitive. I mean, you look at the last win, it was against a pretty solid fighter in Coral Rosa. Aspen Ladd is not a girl that really jumps out the page and impresses me in any way. Her stand-up is iffy at best. It looks very awkward. She does sneak strikes through. She's unorthodox, but it really doesn't look good. Very plodding, almost moves like a 2000s heavyweight. McMann doesn't have the striking, though. She's not known for it. The wrestling is the X factor. You look way back in the career of Aspen Ladd. She fought Cynthia Calvillo. Something about that fight I took away in this one. Yes, I know it's years ago, but a good wrestler like McMann, I think, controls Ladd. I don't think she has slick enough jiu-jitsu off the back. Now, that being said, it's never impossible for Sara McMann to get submitted. She's known for losing by submission in fights that she's winning. But Aspen Ladd, I don't think does it to her. We're riding with Sara McMann at 42 on fight night to get the win on her birthday week. As far as the odds for this matchup, minus 122, Aspen Ladd, Sara McMann, plus 111. We got to ride with Sara McMann. Upset, plus money, McMann for the win. Next fight of the night. Trevin Giles fights Luis Cosce. I'm going to be picking Trevin Giles. Cosce's been out so long. He's a really aggressive striker, and I mean, known for the wrestling. That's his main game. Wrestling is base, but when he strikes, he's over aggressive. He's awkward and rushes him. Him and his brother both do this. They kind of come in square. To me, a slick striker is going to land big shots. Trevin Giles is not the best puncher. He doesn't have A1 boxing, but he's a pretty solid athlete. He's light on his feet. He's quick with his hands. He does have a solid grappling base. I think he can fend off the grappling, and I think he can stop Trevin Giles later. I'm thinking kind of third round KO, TKO. Luis Cosce also come off the loss to Sasha Paletnikov. That loss did not age well. Paletnikov no longer with the UFC. Trevin Giles, he's not top class, but at the end of the day, he's got UFC wins. He's a decent fighter. I do think he can mix it up with Cosce for sure. In the wrestling department, it favors Cosce. Length favors Giles. He's the taller guy, 3 inches taller, 3 inches longer in the reach. I think striking is going to be all Trevin Giles here. And he's also adjusting to welterweight. I think he's actually well built for the weight class because he was never good sized at middleweight. He was undersized. I think welterweight's a smart move, and I think he stops Luis Cosce in the third round. Cosce is plus 175, Giles minus 200. The reason I don't think Cosce would be like that great of an underdog is just long layoff. What has it been? 2 years? Almost 2-year layoff. Lost to Sasha Paletnikov by TKO. Gas tank issues. Didn't have much high-level experience from the start. And now you're fighting a guy with more than double your experience who's been in the UFC for years. Veteran savvy all the way. Trevin Giles for the TKO. Next fight on the card. Damon Jackson versus Pat Sabatini. I'm going to be picking Pat Sabatini to get the win by a decision. I think Damon Jackson will be difficult to beat, but Sabatini is a lot more explosive. Dan Argueta in that third round was having moments against Damon Jackson. I think Sabatini's the better wrestler of those two. I think he's the physically stronger guy, the more powerful puncher. You look at Damon Jackson in that fight. Yes, Argueta's got a good skill set, but he's a natural bantamweight. Jackson's a tall and long guy at 145 pounds. Pat Sabatini, giving up the height, giving up the bit of reach, clearly to me has a power advantage. I think he definitely hits harder than Damon Jackson does. I do think he's the better offensive wrestler, though Jackson is very tricky with his wrestling and he's dangerous on the floor. Don't be surprised if he's able to have success in the grappling department here, but I think Sabatini takes it in a hard-fought matchup by a decision. Looking at the odds, Pat Sabatini, he is sitting at minus 200. Damon Jackson, plus 178. I feel like Joey Diaz on the line, cleaning my nose off over here. But we got to do it. We got to keep it clean for the people watching. But Pat Sabatini for the win is the official pick. I do think he gets it done, and I do think he looks pretty decent. But don't sleep on Damon Jackson. He's a very difficult guy to fight. I understand why people would like him as an underdog, but I think Sabatini has some clear advantages in this matchup, and that's why I'm picking him. Let's keep running up. Next matchup. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez and Marc-Andre Barriault. It's a close fight, and I can see an argument either way, but I have to go with Marc-Andre Barriault for that UFC experience. I also think he's a hard guy to beat. He doesn't really make you look good against him either. I know Chidi Njokuani's got a one-shot KO of him, but those one-shot KOs are kind of freaky occurrences. I mean, Kevin Holland stopped Fluffy Hernandez in like 30 seconds at one point. I'm not saying Holland wouldn't beat him, and I'm not saying Chidi wouldn't beat Barriault in a rematch. I'm just saying you can't take a ton away from really quick stoppages. Things happen in the fight game. There's 4-ounce gloves in the cage with all the tools. Shit goes down. Marc-Andre Barriault's actually a pretty decent kickboxer with solid pressure. He's okay with the grappling. He's kind of good everywhere, and he's just difficult to deal with. Anthony Hernandez, explosive, definitely scraps and has some power in the hands, but he gets sloppy at times. Barriault has a tight guard, pretty defensively sound. I think Hernandez could get tired a bit, and we're in a bit of a toss-up matchup. I can see Hernandez winning the first, Barriault taking second and third. I'm liking Marc-Andre Barriault to win a decision, but I definitely think close fight nonetheless. Now, looking at the odds, Barriault plus 152 underdog, Anthony Hernandez minus 165. I think Barriault wins. Very hard guy to finish. I'm having a hard time seeing Hernandez do it. I think we're going to see Marc-Andre Barriault pull off an upset in this fight. Good matchup in middleweight. Next fight jumps us to the main card. If you guys have not yet, make sure to smash the hell out of the like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. It's Tanner Boser versus Rodrigo Nascimento. I'm picking Tanner Boser. I think he's so much more mobile than Nascimento striking. He does give up almost 20 pounds in the weight normally. Nascimento's close to 265. Boser 235, 240 range. But let's be honest, Tanner Boser has good boxing skills. Nascimento's kind of a stiff striker, more so known for the jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu is decent, but it's not like jump off the page good. His boxing is iffy. He's got a bad knockout loss to Chris Daukaus a while back. Now, Daukaus has rode all the way up. Nascimento, no contest in the last one. He hasn't fought since that fight. How long ago was that? A year ago. Boser hasn't fought since he beat OSP a year ago. I think Boser is going to be a lot more dynamic in the striking. Nascimento, I don't think, has the wrestling to threaten Boser. And I think Boser looks pretty good, probably winning a unanimous decision. But I wouldn't be shocked if Boser actually got it done with the hands and TKO'd Nascimento in this fight. He just doesn't bring a ton of punching power, but he has good volume, good movement. I like the striking game of Boser a lot. I like the grappling defense. I see him winning. Lost to Arlovsky, decision, forgivable. He got outstruck by a very technical heavyweight. And then he loses to Ilir Latifi, who's a tricky wrestler, by a close split decision. Boser in this fight, I think, beats Nascimento for sure. And I mean, you look at the experience, there's a serious difference. Boser's been around. Looking at the lines here, Tanner Boser is minus 170. Nascimento plus 180. We got to ride the side of Tanner Boser for the win. I'm going to say decision, but late TKO wouldn't surprise me here. I can see him touching Nascimento up. Next fight of the night, Alen Amedovski and Joe Pyfer. Listen, if Joe Pyfer doesn't win this fight, immediately cut him from the UFC. Joe Pyfer, first round submission. This thing should not be close. Alen Amedovski does not look UFC level at all. He's got 3 dominant losses in a row. He doesn't consistently fight. When he fought 3 months ago, but before then it was 2 years, 11 months. 3 years, 4 months. There's been long layoffs. Amedovski got destroyed by Joseph Ugly Man Holmes, who is probably one of the worst guys on the roster at middleweight right now. Not saying Holmes is not good, but as far as where he's ranked at the moment, he's way in the back end. Pyfer coming in, debuting. I think Amedovski is a guy that you lose to him, you're out the door. He's like the gatekeeper for the first fight into the UFC. I think Pyfer should take him to the ground, and I think he should choke him out. I really don't think this should be a close fight. If it does look close, Pyfer's a future fade. But right now, I think Pyfer, extremely confident pick, and he's got to be confident for majority. The Lions totally agree. They really feel like Amedovski is not even someone to be looked at as far as UFC level. Am I not seeing the lines here? Am I blind? Amedovski's not here, but we got the lines here on Tapology. I'd assume they're very close to accurate because this is where I'd mark this one. Minus 420, Pyfer, plus 325, Amedovski. Listen, Amedovski's got no shot. He's got very iffy stand-up, mediocre at best grappling defense. Pyfer should run through him with relative ease. This really shouldn't look any bit close. This should look like a lightweight fighting a middleweight. Because also Amedovski, the way he's built, I think he's more suited for 170. He has not any muscle on the frame. He's not a big dude. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. Prior to that, he was 8-0. But the UFC just didn't do right by him. He got to the UFC and he was fed a new level. They're still keeping him around, and it's definitely to build Pyfer with a destructive win. It's Pyfer first round sub, and it really shouldn't look competitive in the slightest. Amedovski is not UFC level, man. Next fight of the night, Andre Fili and Bill Algeo. Listen, I think that Andre Fili is going to win. Algeo and Fili have a common opponent in Joe Anderson Brito, and Fili was stopped in seconds into that fight, the first round. Algeo ends up winning a decision. MMA math doesn't work at all. Algeo is a grinding pressure style fighter with awkward stand-up. Fili is a pretty decent kickboxer, solid straight punches, and does land all the way at the end with a bit of pop. He definitely can stun people. I think he can stun Bill Algeo with shots, especially straight punches. Looking at the height, similar. Reach, very similar. I think that Andre Fili's wrestling is going to be there to defend any potential shots by Algeo. If he's pushed back up against the cage, I think he can fend off Bill Algeo's attacks from there. I think Andre Fili looks really good in this fight, in the comeback matchup after bad loss, but right before that terrible loss to Joe Anderson Brito, he was beating the brakes off of Daniel Pineda. We can't sleep on Andre Fili, man. I think he goes out there, looks good, gets a dominant win. Does he get it done by a finish? I'm kind of feeling like no. I'm going to say Andre Fili to win a decision. Algeo's game and durable, but Fili should outpoint him. Looking at the lines here, Fili is a very slight favorite, -120. It's interesting to see Fili not a dog with Algeo on the win streak, Fili coming off the loss. Algeo +115. I think Algeo could be a bit of like a trap betting line because Fili, I really believe, is a better technical guy. He's slicker on the feet. He's got the wrestling to match Bill Algeo. He just matches up well against him. Andre Fili for the victory. Next fight is our co-main event. Chidi Njokuani and Gregory Rodriguez. I'm going to be picking Chidi Njokuani for the win. He is a very technical striker. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's extremely long for the weight class. I think that Gregory Rodriguez is a powerhouse. He's dangerous as hell with his Jiu-Jitsu. Huge hooks as he closes distance, and you always know there could be a shot coming because he can wrestle a bit too. His grappling game is there. Doesn't like to use it often. Usually likes to showcase his stand-up because he's extremely dangerous on the feet. Njokuani is going to be better striking, and I do think he's going to be able to fend off the grappling. I actually think Chidi Njokuani is going to TKO Gregory Rodriguez here. I think he's going to hit him with some straight shots, hurt him bad, and follow up with ground and pound. I got to ride with Chidi Njokuani by knockout, and it's going to be a straight punch that lands as Rodriguez is entering that pocket with powerful hooks. It might be fairly competitive early when they're both fresh, and Rodriguez is kind of able to blitz him and try to bully Chidi, but Chidi, as time goes on, will work those straights, get the teeps working. He'll find straight shots down the line, and I'm telling you, he touches Gregory up. Maybe he avoids the teeps because he'll be a little bit worrisome of getting put on his back by Rodriguez, but I don't think it's all that likely Rodriguez takes him down and controls him. If he does get him there, I think Chidi has the grappling defense to get back up. And striking, he's extremely dynamic. He's versatile on the feet. I think he lacks the same power of Rodriguez, but his precision is definitely higher. Speed favors Chidi Njokuani, and I like the distance here. 80-inch reach, 76. The management of distance is great for Chidi, and I think he gets another win in the UFC. And I do think he stops Gregory Rodriguez. He'll be the first guy to stop him in the UFC, and the first guy to stop him since Jordan Williams, which is kind of mind-blowing that Williams knocked him out on Contender Series. Rodriguez -111, Chidi Njokuani +100. I have the ever so slight dog in Chidi, but this is a pick'ems fight. Good matchmaking, fun matchup. It is time for the main event. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Much love to everybody watching. It's Cory Sandhagen and Song Yadong. I gotta pick Sandhagen. It's very hard to pick against him. He's extremely difficult to deal with in the striking department. He's unorthodox. He's got very fast twitch reflexes. He's got good fast twitch fibers overall. Light on his feet. Flying knees can come out of nowhere. Good elbows. Song Yadong is a very explosive, physically strong, and powerful guy. He's got dynamic hands, 100% good boxing skills. As far as MMA boxing, the power is there. But Sandhagen from distance should pick Yadong apart. Yadong will find success earlier, trying to bully Sandhagen a bit. As Sandhagen tries to manage distance, Yadong's got to close that gap. I don't see him knocking a Sandhagen out. I see this fight going long. I could see this fight going into the championship rounds. I'm actually going to lean towards Sandhagen to win by a 5-round unanimous decision. Could get a late stoppage on Song Yadong, especially if Yadong goes ham early, looking to get Sandhagen out of there and then gasses out. But overall, I think Sandhagen, the better technical guy striking, uses that advantage from distance, works decent kicks from the outside, keeps Yadong away. There'll be moments when Yadong enters, and there'll be moments when he lands, but Sandhagen will eat the shots. Right now, I feel like Sandhagen is kind of in a weird spot in the weight class. He's kind of in that, I don't know, top zone of like a prime wonder boy where you're not the absolute number one best guy, but you're going to beat the vast majority of people on the roster, especially fellow strikers. Yadong wants to strike. I don't think he'll have a ton of success with the wrestling here. I think Sandhagen's going to be capable of defending the attacks. I know Yadong, team alpha male guy. ultimately he trains with elite wrestling, so he sees that, good looks in the training room. His defense is super sound, but when you look at Yadong's style, you're not thinking of brutal offensive wrestling. You're more thinking of that dynamic boxing game, the huge power in the hands, massive hook knockouts, explosiveness, whereas Sandhagen, I think the more technical kickboxer, uses it all well, manages the distance, and wins it by a decision. But don't be surprised if we get a finish. I think the reason I'm kind of so confident on going towards the decision side here is we have no influence of the crowd because we're back at the UFC Apex. Looking at the odds for this fight, Sandhagen minus 186 best value, Yadong plus 175. I am riding Sandhagen for the win, and he is a fair size favorite. Not a terrible play, though, on Sandhagen, especially if you're looking to bet some overs here. We'll talk bets during the week on this week's Best MMA Bets. I'll be dropping content every day, so make sure you keep it locked in here at MMA Experts. If you're new, subscribe, smash that like button. Make sure to turn those post notifications on, too, so you don't miss a video. Let me know what you guys think about the picks in the comments. If you don't have anything to say, but you just enjoy the content, drop a W in the chat as always. Much love, my people. We're grinding through it, even a little bit under the weather. Apologize to the people if you saw me, cleansing the nostrils during the broadcast. But at the end of the day, we got to keep this bad boy clean, and I don't want to be dripping all over the place throughout the whole show. Much love, guys. Thank you all so much. Stay tuned. Content dropping all week. Peace, and I will see you all in the next one.